Hello and welcome to the Awesomeness in Action radio show. I am your host, Rashana Price, international author, coach, speaker, and trainer. You are here today and we're excited and we thank all of our sponsors. To Ilika Follett, who is known as the Keto Mommy Makeover. You can find her on Instagram. You can also go to lifehealthnow.com to learn more. And also to Erie Success. Erie Success is a corporate partner that helps individuals and organizations overcome adult bullying and conflict resolution. You can learn more about Erie Success by going to eriesuccess.com. That's EYRIE success.com. Today's show is going to be fabulous because we have with us Tammy Mills. Tammy Mills is a performing artist. She is a health coach, and she is the author of her first book. I am saying first because I believe she has many more to birth, and it is called Suddenly. So Tammy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashonda. If I can say that, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm glad that you are here. And so I want listeners first and foremost to know a little bit more about you. So tell us all, where do you hail from? Where are you born and raised? All of the good things.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in North Carolina in a very, very small city called Gaston, North Carolina, near Lake Gaston, probably about 5 minutes from Virginia. So that's where I was born and raised. But I spent a lot of my childhood back and forth in the city of Richmond, Virginia, and DC. So a lot of my family lived there. And so we spent a lot of time up north. But as I got older, I moved to Wake County. I moved to Wake Forest, North Carolina, and now me and my family, we reside in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, Raleigh, my old stomping grounds.
Yes.
I used to live in Knightdale, North Carolina. So shout out to Knightdale, which is, it's
Woo-hoo.
boomed since we moved.
Yes,
Yes, yeah, small town America, not so small anymore, for sure.
it is. It's growing very fast in Nightdale.
Yeah, and so being from a small town, what's one thing that you learned that prepared you to like move into the big city?
I'm glad you asked that. I always felt like I was a country girl trapped inside a. I felt like I was a city girl trapped inside a small environment body. Born
Mm.
in the South, but I always felt like a city girl. So that always allowed me to wonder. It always wanted me to dream big, even as a little girl. You know, writing, poems and things at a very early age, writing music at a very early age. So I always believed that my life's supposed to be bigger, even though I was a child and I didn't understand how God would bring it to fruition. But being raised up in a small environment, it allowed me to see further. It allowed me to want more. But it also made me feel that I'm supposed to do something great in a place where I was raised. I feel like I'm supposed to be an example.
Mm.
So when I make it out, I feel like I'm supposed to go back and show someone else, hey, I made it out, then you can too. It's almost like the story of Jesus Christ when he was born and raised in Nazareth, and when he decided to leave, and people there said, could anything good come out of Nazareth?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yes, the Messiah. And so I feel it is my due diligence that God allowed me to be raised in a small area of Gaston, North Carolina, Winter Rapids, all of those areas where I resided for just a little while. I feel like God put me there to be able to see where I came from,
Mm-hmm.
and my as he taught me to go through this process, this thing called life, to be able to say, okay, now you go back and you pull somebody else up, don't forget where you came from.
Right.
And so I feel like that's the reason why God allowed me to grow up in that area, to be able to remember what it was like and who I left behind, my brothers and my sisters,
Mhm.
because most people want to get out but they don't know how. And
Right.
I feel like God has spoke to me, and when he told me to, I need you to pack up your family, I need you to leave, like he told Abraham. And it was a hard decision, but I knew that I had to have courage. I knew I had to be brave, and I knew I had to obey the voice of God, because
Yes.
I know his plan is bigger than I can imagine.
Yep, to obey, to be able to pick up and go, to take your inner big city girl in this
Yes.
small town and start to venture out. And you said something that I just love. You talked about being that example, because ultimately when you leave and go off and do something else, work somewhere else, live somewhere else, someone is watching you. There's always someone watching going, if Tammy can do it, I can do it. If Roshana can do it, I can do it. So who are those young people, or maybe they aren't so young, that have said, Tammy, I see you. I see you.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I do get a lot of inboxes um, from my nieces, from my cousins, even some of my friends that I left behind, some of the members that I used to go to church with. Yes, I do see them watching. And sometimes people watch you in silence because they don't
Absolutely.
want to expose that they're watching.
Mhm.
And, you know, even someone purchased my book a while back. I didn't know they purchased my book because people are going through some stuff and they
Yes.
may not want people to know that I went through this and I need help because a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable. And so um, I do have people that reach out and say, you know, I'm watching you and you're such an inspiration. You know, could I see more of you? And so going through the process, God showed me that it's no longer about you. Actually, it was never about you. I'm just using you.
Seeing you.
And so
Yeah.
I really make that my forte. I really put that in front of me every single day with every decision I make, whether it's my music, whether the books that I've written already and books that I've already written that I'm ready to publish. I know that it's not about me, but God is using me as a light to be able to give hope to other people. That just like you said, if God did it for Tammy Mills, He can do it for you.
He can do it for you. If he,
He can do it
right,
for
if he
you.
did it before, he'll do it
He can
again.
do it
He
again.
can do it again. Yes, yes. We were talking about being from a small town and how being from a place, being in a small town doesn't necessarily mean that's who you are on the inside. You can have a New York state of mind. You can have this big city feel. And that is what allowed her to get out of her small town, and then become an example for her family, for her friends, and for others that are watching her. And so I wanted to ask you, Tammy, to share with us a time that in the midst of working through everything, that you had the adversity that comes. Because on the Awesomeness in Action radio show, I talk a lot about adversity. I believe that's the way that God actually shows us the awesomeness, the power that He's put in us is through some of the difficulty. So, when was the
Yes.
last time you faced some adversity and a challenge, and how did you really gear up to overcome it?
Okay, great. First, I'll answer your question about the adversity of trying to, I guess, get out of that area that I was raised. I experienced a lot of adversity. Was very hard to believe because you think that when you share your ideas and hope of moving forward to do something better, you're thinking that everybody's going to be on board, but they're not. And I didn't go to many people. I went to my immediate family, and you know, a lot of them were not happy. A lot of them didn't understand. You know, I didn't understand everything myself. So in the midst of that, I experienced a lot of adversity, a lot of rejection. Um, but I knew I had to move forward. I had to just get still and just pray about, you know, God, what do you want me to do? Because I came to a halt. You know, everything seemed like it just stopped, you know,
Yeah,
and I didn't
so let me just
know.
say that. Let me just let's just stay here for a minute, because
Okay.
many people experience what you experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that you're going to family. It's like when you
Yes.
have something that you've worked on, it's like a pie or a cake, something that you're like, yes, I did
Mm.
this, your dream. It's right. And you want them to be like, that's good. And they're like,
Yes.
that's not good. Or they're like, what are you doing? Or, oh, you think that's gonna work? Or are you sure? Who do you think you are? That's my favorite.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you experience that. And you said it halted you. It stopped you in your tracks.
Yes. It really did. You know, it made me feel at first, um, you know, should I continue to move forward? But then I didn't stay there long. I didn't
Good.
stay in that mindset long because God, I know what you said. and I know that this is where I'm supposed to go. You have a plan. And so these were things that was even coming from immediate family, just like you said, are you sure you want to do that? I think you should just stay here, where it's comfortable, where it's safe. And I said, no, I'm going to go, because I left a lot behind. I left my big home behind, my family behind, but I knew that God had something greater on the other side. And so in the midst of me trying to move forward, again, I experienced a lot of adversity. So I had to get still. I had to pray and say, God, what's next? And so he showed me a plan of what to do, how to defeat the enemy. And everything just flowed. Everything just flowed. But I came through a lot of obstacles. And the only thing I remember, God was saying, when I felt like giving up, when the flesh felt like giving up, God said, continue to pray. Continue to pray. Because in the midst of me praying, it continued to give me hope. It continued to give me strength. Because when God is taking you through a process, he don't show you A, B, C, and D. He may show you A, and you got to wait it out. You got to walk by faith and not by sight. And so me not really having everything laid out at first, it allowed me to run into a lot of other bumps and bruises, like what I did before. Moving out of anxiousness, moving too fast. I ended up putting my daughter in school before I found our house. So that was a learning thing that I had to learn. I learned through that, get your house first, then put your child in school.
Right. Because you don't know what school they're going to go to and all of that.
Right.
Yes.
So I've learned that, and I'm able to teach other people. If God tell you to move, make sure you have everything in order. But God is so full of mercy. He's so full of grace that when we get off track, he's able to put us back on the right track if you have the right motive, if your heart is right.
Yeah.
And so
you sound like a pastor. Have you ever been a pastor?
I'm actually an ordained evangelist.
Okay.
But I don't like.
But you said you don't, but go ahead.
I don't like to, and I have license here, and you can't see it, because I was just asking God this morning doing my power walk. I was like, God, who am I? I know I'm a child of God. I know I'm chosen. I know I'm a leader. I know I'm a multimillionaire. I know all the gifts and talents. I'm an author. I'm an artist. But who really, who am I? Who am I, Tammy Mills? Who is Tammy Mills? And so I come from a great background of being raised in church through my mother, my grandmother, and I got ordained. And I was asking God without asking him about the evangelist part, because I didn't bring that up, because I wanted God to say, well, do what, because a lot of times people can put labels on you and say, I want you to be a pastor. I want you to do this and that. Just because your mom was a pastor, your dad was a pastor, it don't necessarily mean that that's your calling. And I love the Lord with all my heart. And so when I got ordained as an evangelist, I really did not want to be an evangelist. And so when I talk to people, I don't tell them that I'm ordained, because I want them to know me first. Because a lot of people have went through church hurt. And if they start hearing titles, and some people get caught up in titles, but I don't. So I just leave that part out, and I allow people to recognize it in their own time.
Oh, okay. I like that. That resonates, because one of the reasons why I have the trademark and am known as the giver of awesomeness is because I too was sitting at my computer asking the question, God, who do you want me to be? Like, who am I supposed to be? I'm filling out my LinkedIn profile, and you're supposed to have a title, right? You have put yourself out there. I was coaching individuals at the time. I was just starting my business. And so I was like, I could be a consultant, a coach, right? Maybe a fancy coach. I'll be a life coach. I'll be a strategic leadership coach, right? But I was like, who do you want me to be? And I remember sitting still, just like that, like just that quietness. And just allowing the Lord to have the downloads come, and the people's voices came. People saying to me, Roshana, you rock, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're outstanding, you're a giver. And then giver of awesomeness came. It was like, you could think about, it was like a skywrite, where it in my mind, that's what I saw. Giver of awesomeness across the sky. And then a tiny voice that said, trademark that. And I didn't know even how to trademark at the time. I didn't know. The first time I did a trademark, I went online, I found a place to do it, did it wrong, then hired a lawyer who did it right, like
Wow.
all the steps along the way. And so for you and for others that are listening, when you're asking God, who am I? As you start to ask, who am I? Like, who does he want you to be in this world? Because ultimately we're beings. We are beings.
We're beings.
And I believe he'll show it to you either through visions, dreams, or other people in who they say that you are, who they compliment you to be. And sometimes they'll come and tell you the terrible things. Like they'll tell you, oh, you think you're so good. Oh, my favorite from a former boss. Oh, you think you're good, don't you? I was like, in the moment, I was like, what? And now I'm like, yes, I do. Yes. I think I'm good. And if I don't think I'm good, who will? And of course, right? Like I might not be good at everything. I am good at, there are some things that I'm really good at. I am really good at holding space for people that are working through some hard emotions. I am good at creating a safe place where people can feel comfortable to talk and speak and share. And when you know that, so as you're walking out your artistry, when you know that, you can help other people own their good, their awesomeness. That's what I
love that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So your book is one of the ways in which you've been putting your awesomeness out there. Share more about Suddenly, because the title alone got me. Suddenly, because sometimes that's what happens in life. It's suddenly, and it is a shift. So what made you decide to put pen to paper and birth this book?
Wow. So I'm holding up my book now, guys. This is the cover of my book, Suddenly.
Yes. And she has a fly picture. I mean, she has on a bad dress, hair is great. So you want to definitely get the book, Suddenly. Go ahead, Tammy.
Yes. So Suddenly was birthed out actually. Well, let's go back just a little bit, because I told you earlier in our interview that I used to write poems and things when I was a little girl. And I also said that I wanted to be an author when I was a little girl, but Suddenly did not get birthed out until I lost both of my parents together in a car accident. And I began to go through this part of my life where I did not understand how this could be. And so just going through the motion, first of all, I was in denial. So I stayed very, very busy with my health and wellness business to just keep my mind afloat. I didn't want to accept it. And then depression and anxiety hit me. And I did not realize I was depressed until I looked at a photo when I was out of town and my face had gotten so big because I had begun to eat off of my emotions. Mm-hmm. One point I could eat, next month I couldn't eat, and it was back and forth. And then I was going through one night that I was in the bed and my chest started hurting real, real bad, and I couldn't breathe. And my daughter said, "Mom, you're grieving. You have not taken the time out to grieve." So my husband had to rush me to the hospital, and they had to do a stress test, and they kept me overnight because I was in really bad shape at that point. Mm-hmm. I went months and months and months without really talking to people about it, still doing everything that I needed to do without missing a beat. And then I would sit in my bed in the dark, and I would have people inbox me and say, "I think you need to write a book." Because when you lose both parents at one time, when people meet you, people don't know what to say. It's not normal for people to lose both parents at one time. So people will inbox me and don't know what to say, or see me and they say, "I don't have any words." And I said, "I don't either," or "I understand." And so in my dark room, people will inbox me and say, "I think you need to write a book about your parents dying in a car accident." And I would laugh and I said, "These people are crazy. They don't even know that I'm suicidal. I'm contemplating how to take my life." Because when my mother died, my world just changed. My papa raised me at the age of 10 years old. My biological father had died when I was in my early 20s, but my papa raised me. And so he was considered as one of my parents. But my mother was the backbone of our family. And so to lose her, in the way that God took her was unbelievable. It was unbelievable for me, and I could not receive it. So I was angry at God, and God began to speak to me and said, daughter, I need you to write a book. Mind you that he has sent all of these other people
to tell you.
Right. And I'm like, these people are crazy. And I didn't move. I didn't take action. But when God said, daughter, I need you to write the book. See, he got my attention because at that time I was angry and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you tell me to write a book? And especially about this topic, I'm thinking my first book will be a children's book or something like that. And then I said, no. So I'm having a conversation with God.
Yes.
And he said, daughter, remember when you was a little girl, you the one said you wanted to be an author. And all I could do was cry because God remembered. He remembered
what you said.
My heart desire when I was a little girl, right?
Yes.
And so to try to pick it up a little bit. And so we still talking back and forth in the dark room. And then he said, I said, okay, God, if I decide to write a book, that if I do decide, I don't even have a title. Immediately, he said, suddenly. Immediately, he said, suddenly. Wow. And so I grabbed my phone and I put it in my little notes. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do anything right then because I'm still like going through. Maybe about a week later, I believe, I went to the house, got quiet about 2 a.m. and I came downstairs. And then I put on some, not gospel music, but I put on some Mint Condition, songs of the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah, some swooning songs, some good. Yeah.
Yes. And I flowed. I began to flow. I wrote probably like 8 pages without stopping. And then the Lord said, hold up. You're not writing about your parents. I need you to go back and get that little girl that was molested. You cannot move forward until you go back and get her because she's stuck.
Yes.
And when he said that, I closed up my journal and I said, I'm done. You didn't tell me I was going to have to go back this far. And so that's how my journey started with suddenly. I had to go get counseling. I had to go talk to someone about it. And it just let me know that this story has to be told because a lot of times people put things up under the rug. Our culture, especially, what happens in this house stays in this house. Hotel.
Yes.
Yes.
African American culture for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But as I obeyed God and wrote my story, I found out that there's other cultures that deal with child molestation and child abuse
as well. Yeah. It's more pervasive than we believe and know. It's becoming more mainstream. I actually believe that's why so many people are now exhibiting mental illness or what is being diagnosed as mental illness actually breaks in the psyche that happened because people are surviving these traumatic experiences and then they're hiding. And so the way that they hide is to break that part off and be like, no, well, that happened, but it happened back then. And and so it's this part that over time actually creates an undercurrent of who someone is and the beliefs that they have. And it can really haunt someone. And yet they don't know it because it becomes familiar. It's a familiar thing.
Yes, it is.
So that is powerful, Tammy. So where can people go to purchase your book?
So I always have copies because I'm always meeting people. So if you want your own personal copy, you can email me at Tammy Mills with an S152@gmail.com. Yes. If you want your own personal copy, well, I'll write it out and say some special things to you. You can email me again at Tammy Mills 152@gmail.com. Or if you want to get it on Amazon, my book is on Amazon, it's at Walmart online, it's on so many digital platforms.
Okay.
But most of my people go to Amazon or Walmart to get your own copy.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to share about the book and more importantly, the story behind it, that personal story, because you are going to help so many people that are dealing with, how do I bring this out? And I want to do it in a way that is true and honest to to the personal experience. And there can also be some hurt and shame from family members. So Tammy, tell everyone where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at I am Tammy Mills. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, just Tammy Mills. Those are the most platforms that I mostly do much engagement with, most engagement.
Okay, so on Instagram at I am Tammy Mills and on Facebook as Tammy Mills, and that is Mills
Yes,
with an S. Yes.
with an S.
Yes. What final comments or thoughts would you like to share with our audience today?
My final thoughts that I want to share with you guys is to believe in yourself. First of all, you have to believe in yourself. My book suddenly talks about that. Just believing in yourself, because it doesn't matter what other people say about you or what they believe. If you don't believe it, then it's not going to do you any good. To believe in yourself, follow your heart, and to never give up. Just keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yes. Keep going, keep going, keep putting that awesomeness into action every
Yes.
day. Yes. And so Tammy, I thank you so much for being on the show. You're welcome back
Thank you for having me.
anytime. You're welcome. Come back and see us. Let us know what other projects you're working on. And we can continue the conversation too around families, members being molested, grief, loss. There's so many things to continue
Yes.
to talk about. So I want to thank everyone who tunes in every Saturday at 3:00 p.m. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our sponsors, Ilika Follett. You can go to ilikafollett.com. You can also go to ketomommy-makeover.com. You can also find Ilika on Instagram at Keto Mommy Makeover. And then I also want to thank Erie Success, our other sponsor who works with corporations. You can find out more about Erie Success by going to eriesuccess.com. That's EYRIE success.com. And so for all of you that are wondering about being a radio sponsor, getting commercials, email me at radio@giverofawesomeness.com or call 919-351-8668 so we can discuss your business, your products, your services, and how to get them out there to your target audience. Until next time, next week, I want you to continue to be blessed. Walk in your awesomeness and remember that awesomeness is in you. We'll see you soon.
Wow.
Take care. Bye-bye.